What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you due to a cultural misunderstanding? For me, it was when I was talking to a coworker who married an African woman. He said he wanted a dog but his wife refused to let him get one. He went on to say it's because in the village where she grew up, they looked at dogs differently than we do here. I replied, "Oh, is it because they eat them?" He looks at me in disgust and says, "Jesus, no, they don't eat them, man. The dogs are used to protect the village and they are usually pretty vicious, so she's scared of them." Eat them? Really? I felt like the ignorant white guy that day.
Not exactly cultural, but when I was teaching in Tanzania, I studied Swahili pretty hardcore. Studying so fast, I was bound to confuse some verbs. Tembea means to walk in Swahili, while tombia means to freak. Making conversation with dozens of villagers in a day, in the villages you are expected to socialize with almost everyone, I repeatedly told several groups of people that I was tired from freaking all day in the intense heat. People laughed uncomfortably, but then I thought I was just making a grammar mistake. I told my entire host family, including their 4 small children. I told my students, a room full of 4th graders. I told farmers I met on the road, young men fixing motorcycles, my friends at a barber shop. I told the old women's sewing circle, one of the most respected institutions in the village. It wasn't until I was saying it to a bilingual kindergarten teacher in front of his entire class that he stopped me, mid-sentence, and told me in English what I was saying. I learned Spanish at a breakneck pace, too. When I moved to Mexico, I was 13 or so, ended up fluent, but at this point I certainly wasn't. I was going to a birthday party for my friend's brother, who I of course had a crush on. I fell in the street walking down the hill towards their house and banged up my knee pretty bad. I walk in the door of the house and announce to a living room full of people who I didn't know, including the boy I like and all of his friends, Cage. Silence. I repeat, louder, mi Cage en la calle. Silence, then laughter. Care means to fall. Cagar, however, means to crap. I said loudly and proudly that I shat myself in the street.
Not me, but my friend. He moved here from France when he was 15. His cousin told him that a polite American greeting was to say, "Up yours." For a while he went around enthusiastically shaking people's hands and saying, "Up yours."
I overheard one Afghan soldier ask another, "How do you say excuse me in English?" The other responded, "Freak you."
My mom really liked the fried noodles that were served with soup at this Asian restaurant. She asked what they were called, and decided to tell everyone about the crunchy noodles. It was a good while before she realized the waitress was just saying crunchy noodles with an accent. My mom really liked the fried noodles that were served with soup at this Asian restaurant. She asked what they were called, and decided to tell everyone about the crunchy noodles. It was a good while before she realized the waitress was just saying crunchy noodles with an accent.
I spent time in Kenya, where people freely picked their nose. They'd look you right in the eye while having a conversation, digging for nose gold. Initially, I was offended, but I quickly learned to love the freedom of it, and did it without regard. When I got back to the States, I learned quickly that job interviews are not the location to pull bats out of the cave.
American here. I was studying in Vienna, Austria during college. Halloween rolled around and a bunch of us decided to get dressed up for the night. I lived quite a bit away from downtown and had to take public transportation to get to where my friends were. That night I learned 2 things. 1. Austrians don't dress up for Halloween. 2. A 6 feet 3 inches werewolf complete with fangs and fake blood scares the shit out of most everyone taking public transportation in Vienna.
I LOL'd when a friend from India told me he was looking at a bunch of pictures of girls his parents had sent him to look at. To pick a wife. Then later I realized he was serious. In my defense, he did sound like he was kidding, but it turned out he was just slightly embarrassed that I had walked in while he was browsing and he couldn't make up a plausible story. Another one I just remembered. My wife and I were friends with an older couple from Armenia. The husband was a heavy drinker and sometimes I'd let him drag me into it. Anyway, they were very gregarious and had a lot of expat friends from many countries, including some Russians. Once at a family reunion of theirs we were at, I had had a bit too much Armenian brandy and vodka, and my friend was talking about the Soviet Union and how every Armenian hated it. I stupidly, and a bit loudly, remarked that it was funny that he had so many Russian friends. After a bit of embarrassing silence he said, "I don't hate Russians, I hate communists." Ah crap.
I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand, late at night and at one of those little restaurants that opens under an overpass or something with some plastic chairs and stuff only when it's really late. I ordered a fat capro, stir-fried pork with basil on rice, from the old lady and ate it in silence. When it came time to pay, I didn't have any money in my pockets. Luckily, for some reason I thought I was in a dodgy area, so I had hidden some money in my shoe, as a safety measure. So when the lady asked for my money and I took it out of my shoe, she absolutely flipped out at me, screaming. I couldn't understand the problem until she grabbed the bill from me and pointed to the picture of the king on it, and then pointed at my shoes. It was only then I understood that since the feet are considered filthy in Thai culture, I had committed a terrible faux pas by putting an image of the sacred Thai king under my feet. I tried to explain there was American money in there too, so I had insulted the USA as well, but she wasn't having any of it.
Freshly arrived in the US to study, and my English was none too good. I go to the university's cafeteria, and, translating straight from my native language, I ask the guy at the pizza counter, "How is it going?" By which I meant, "How does this work?" What can I say, not very familiar with ordering at a counter. The guy starts telling me about his personal life, and after 30 seconds, I turned around and left the cafeteria, panicked that my English was so bad, I could not even order pizza.
If you made it to this point in the video, consider subscribing. It really helps out. If you like this video, leave a like. Want to say something? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching and have a splendid day.